Kingdom, they just wish they were America so bad.
That's all it is.
They really wish they came up with America first.
Strictly speaking, they did. But then America left.
Strictly in what way?
Well, then we were the British, and then we became America.
Yeah, I know. Instead of just being, like, more Britain.
Yeah.
Do you think, way off topic, which we don't have one yet, because you haven't spun your little wheels.
We are recording, so this is now part of the podcast.
Convenient. But, do you think inherently, when man projects itself into a new frontier, whoever lives there after a while will automatically just be like, you know what? We're our own thing now.
Yeah.
Because you've said that about Mars before, eventually the people on Mars will fucking rise up, which is what a million books and video games are about. But,
Yeah.
is that just, is that doomed to repeat itself?
That's what's happened every time colonialism has happened.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Spin the wheel.
All right, so back to topic. To pick this week's episode topic, we've created the Wheel of Uncomfortableness. And so
do we want to talk about why the episode's late?
We can open with it.
We've
got the longest intro. We've got the worst. This is we made some stinkers. This is the worst
intro
we've ever made.
I rewatched everything we've done, and there's no way this is going to be the worst because we're both still we're being funny.
that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's a podcast. But okay, so so I'm sorry for derailing this whole entire thing. Just go ahead and jump into your wheel spinning thing. We didn't do a sound test.
I did before you got here.
How can you do a sound test before one of the hosts arrives?
I checked both microphones and they were on.
With your voice.
Yeah, but it's fine. They're the same settings as always.
All right. It's good to be back. It's good to be back in my co-pilot seat.
So
Let's fly right into the mountain.
So to choose the topic for this week's episode, we have created the Wheel of Uncomfortableness. And you who are audio only will have no idea what's going on, but we're going to spin the wheel and see what the topic for this week is. Here we go. It is...
It's a wheel. It doesn't make sound effects.
It could, but the audio on my computer is also what's capturing social experiment. Let's get into it. Smash that like button if you want us to bring back the Wheel of Uncomfortableness every week. That'd be the way we pick our topic from now on.
Yeah, I can think of nothing more uncomfortable
than having random fate pick these terrible topics. So, we're back. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. We were gone for a week because reasons.
I fucked up. No, I didn't. I work a lot, and I actually got 2 days off finally because we finally got some help in the place I work.
Yeah.
So I was able to take some days off, and I had to do a medical thingy.
Yep. And so Ben is now healthier than he was before. Got his medical thingies out of the way. And we could have rushed right back in and tried to crank out an episode last week. We decided it was just going to be better quality if we just kind of gave that week a break rather than stressing out about medical stuff as well as recording the show. So just personal time and medical reasons, missed 1 week, and we're glad to be back. Glad that Ben's okay.
I'm okay.
But let me tell you, the outpouring of like stuff that I got comments on my TikToks and on YouTube, and I got emails sent to me. I'm serious. I got emails sent to me. I got direct messages on Instagram of people checking on us and making sure we were okay and asking where we were because they want to see the episode. I got one email in particular. Let me see if I can pull it up. I wasn't prepared to pull it up, so it'll take me just 2 seconds here.
A lot of people?
Yeah.
Man, people. I hope the show gets better.
For their sake. They're having to listen to this. You clearly care,
Man.
And I'm so sorry.
If you do care, there was nothing wrong with me, and I'm fine.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
I just had to do regular procedures.
Regular procedures. So good. This one email I got is all the weird off the rail things that you and Ben are doing. They say they love it and it totally works. That's so fucking sweet. It's like,
That's
yeah,
nice.
people are
read me some negative ones. I need a negative one.
I can give you one. Show's the worst. No, I don't.
No, the fact that we hate each other doesn't like bother anyone.
We don't get a lot of negative feedback, and I think it's just because we have such a small audience right now that the people who are tuning in actually give a crap.
Some people were mean like the first time, I think, and where's
that? Where's that energy?
Come back and hate.
Bring that hate energy back.
Well,
We thrive on controversy.
But
tell us how bad we are in the comment. Smash that dislike button.
yeah. Give it a thumbs down.
To let us know that you care.
So social experiments are really
Great start. We're off to a phenomenal start.
Well, okay, so first, like, the reason we were here, right, or I wasn't here, is because of the work, and then also because I got my vaccine, right? And the only reason I'm bringing vaccines up, because I know vaccines were on the wheel, and we didn't pick vaccines, but they were technically...
Fate didn't pick vaccines.
The wheel didn't pick. The wheel did not choose vaccines, but... I feel like we might be living through some sort of social experiment right now.
We're just seeing how people handle situations like this. Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about before, like how I'm never going to trust any zombie movie from now on that doesn't involve a huge portion of the world running out to get bitten on purpose to prove that this is all a liberal hoax. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like that's absolutely, this is a sort of social experiment showing how misinformation and disinformation and conspiracy theories and bullshit news channels and all this
but it's like
partisan hackery affects people.
We've seen this play out already. Like, I don't know if you remember H1N1 when we were in high school.
I do.
But it was a big deal. And I got the H1N1 vaccine.
Yeah.
And people like most of my friends thought I was like stupid.
Yeah, I got it as well. And like I remember I think
Glenn Beck and Alex Jones at the time were like really talking about don't get the fucking vaccine. And here's the thing, I got the one that was supposed to be like the worst one. I got the nasal one.
Yeah, the nasal spray.
And I was fine.
And like that's the thing.
I was fine.
Ben and I are both vaccinated. We're good.
No, I'm only half vaccinated.
So far.
Like a day walker.
But like we're all right. We're not fucking magnetic. We don't have fucking Tourette's and all these other ridiculous, really shitty and offensive things people put out on the internet. And like that's the thing is that like this is showing how susceptible people are to really, really, really bad talking points. And it's just like back in the day, I remember back in the Bush administration when like we had like Crossfire on CNN and it was just more and more and more media was just becoming who can scream louder, who has the most ridiculous show, who has the craziest talking point. That's the sensational, absurd madness gets the views. And I remember that being called out for as stupid as it is, and it was fine to call it out for as stupid as it is. But then that stupidity won. And now calling it out as stupidity is part of the conspiracy that they're fucking pushing, you know what I mean? And so like here we are in this age where people make a living, not just get attention, but make a living giving people terrible advice and telling them to be distrustful of like their own cognitive faculties and of their own fucking, skepticism and of experts and of anybody who isn't you or me telling you to be distrustful of anybody. That's who you should be afraid of. And like that is working.
You can't run a society that way.
Well, duh.
And I know that people think...
scratch that. You can run a society that way. You can't run like a progressive, functional society where humans get better. That you can run a very good fascist society that way. But like, you just the whole Orwellian doublethink of like, we'll tell you what to believe, you know what I mean? And like, if you see something that goes against what we say, it's because everything's wrong and it's all a conspiracy.
I just think people might be overreacting to vaccines a little bit.
A little bit. A little bit.
First of all, if you're not gonna get it, like I think you're dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think you like.
Unless you can't. There are people who medically can't.
No.
But
I'm talking about people who are like, fuck the vaccine. I'm not gonna get it just because of these crazy reasons.
Right.
Like,
I just want to be careful that we don't get canceled.
Like, you're not. Fuck that. You're not stupid, right? Because you have these thought out reasons why you're not gonna do it, but you've obviously been misled.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even if I'm wrong, like what I'm doing makes way more sense.
Right.
If you think about it for even 1 second, like the history of vaccination is proven.
Mm.
It's not a lie, it's proven.
Right.
From when we figured it out and started doing it to the diseases we eradicated through vaccinations, there is a well-written record of what happened.
I actually have people popping up on my fucking Instagram and shit with like saying #vaccines kill and like it's how evil they are and everything. I'm like, dude, do you notice how you don't have fucking smallpox or polio right now?
No, they don't.
Honestly, like, have you thought about it?
If they noticed, then they wouldn't be saying what they're saying.
Right.
They don't notice because it's gone. And
Exactly.
that's the problem.
They live in this comfortable, squishy bubble.
Yeah, it's fucking...
And I don't want to sound like a fucking boomer in here and be like, oh, you have it so good, you shouldn't be complaining. There's always something to complain about, and those complaints are valid. But what I'm saying is, you aren't dealing with the real, actual problems of not having a vaccine, and so you're able to sit here and bitch and look a gift horse in the mouth and, like, make up problems. There are real problems in the world, even in this good, progressive world. You know, oh, it's so wonderful we don't live in some horrible dictatorship. We should be so thankful. But also our government has problems and we should talk about them. Vaccines are a totally different fucking thing. There is no net negative to them.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that like most of the quote unquote people in the boomer generation that I talk to like understand the importance of vaccinations. Because they did actually, they grew up when you could still see people who were fucked up by polio.
I feel like I should, like, maybe that's a thing. Because I've only ever heard the term boomer to mean not actually mean a baby boomer, but to mean it's specifically a derogatory term.
Yeah, no, like a lot of baby
older
boomers
person who's
actually,
just dumb as fuck.
They actually understand the vaccine thing.
Right, I'm saying like that's what I'm getting at. Do you use the term boomer to mean literally anybody like 40 and up, or do you use the term boomer to mean like just specifically?
If I'm posting a meme that says "Okay, boomer," then I mean anybody who's acting like a boomer. And if I'm talking
that's what I'm saying.
If I'm talking about baby boomers, I'm talking about baby boomers.
That's exactly what I mean. So like when I say I don't want to sound like a boomer, what I mean is I don't want to sound like a fucking dumbass conspiracy theorist with an Etsy shop.
Okay,
you know?
Fair enough. So, but like, I still think it's important to like bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, there are people old enough, like, who are alive that you can go talk to who can tell you about a time when like people weren't fully vaccinated. You just didn't get vaccinated. Like, a lot of people were born out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they never got the vaccines. And a lot of them would be fine, but if they ever went somewhere and got exposed to something, they were fucked.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like that's the problem is that like this is an advancement. You know what I mean? It's not like with every medicine, you're going to have somebody have adverse side effects all the time. That's how it always is. With every rollout of any good thing, there's going to be kinks and hiccups and problems all the time, no matter what.
I mean,
and like you have people now that are like the same, and I know we've probably said this a million times, like the same people who are saying like, oh, you have a 98% survival rate of COVID, it's fine, are the same people who are like, I'll never get a vaccine, 6 people out of 1,000 die. And it's like, no, first of all, it's like 6 people total have had a serious health problem from the vaccine. So like, that puts the vaccine
what else do they have going on?
Orders of magnitude safer. Hundreds of thousands of times safer than motherfucking COVID. And also, you have people in the hospital right now who are dying, and their last words are begging for the vaccine and saying, I thought this was all political. I thought this was all a hoax. I'm so sorry. Please give me the vaccine. They're like, I'm sorry. It's too fucking late. We need to put you on an incubator now. Hope you fucking live. Like, cross your fingers, y'all. Like, that's the best we can do for you at this point. And so, like, as far as social experiments are concerned, this whole last year was a great one. It taught me to not trust anybody. Because, like, there are people who, no matter what, are going to find a reason to hate you, find a reason to call you a liar, find a reason to distrust you, find a reason to fucking come after you. I was almost run over by a car multiple times for fucking holding a sign that said Black Lives Matter. I was fucking called a robot.
Yeah, but
I was accused of being a fucking robot. I will never let that down until the day I die because I said that vaccines are safe and 5G isn't going to control your mind.
You protest a little too much.
I had people
does
fucking
not compute over there.
I had people that I trusted and people that I called friends fucking mock me and laugh at me and call me crazy for wearing a mask. Like I can't. As far as social experiments are concerned. Yes. Like fucking, as far as social experiments are concerned, I had people, so many people that I would have otherwise respected and talked to and had a good conversation with, fucking talk to me about how, like, yeah, but like it's 2% of the population dies. Fucking, that's not that. It's only 2%. And I'm like, yeah, that's 2%. That's hundreds of thousands of people. You realize we have
Fuck them. They're not me.
Exactly. And we're talking about like fucking, and like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, fucking 9/11 killed like what, 3,000 people? And are you going to just let that go? Because, who cares? It's only a few thousand. Well, that's apples and oranges. That's a different. It's like, if we're talking about which one's a terrorist and which one's a virus, yeah, sure, we're comparing apples and oranges. If we're talking about which one is hurting human lives, which one is attacking America, they are not comparing apples and oranges. One is very different than the other, and COVID is way worse. If we're talking about preserving American lives and valuing American citizens, taking care of COVID is a bigger fucking deal than taking care of Al-Qaeda. So, like, what do you want to do? A 10-year war or fucking get a vaccine?
All those, we're not getting out of the forever war. It's a dead horse.
Right. I'm not trying to argue.
No,
I'm just
what
saying.
I will say, I'm just making sure you know that it's a dead horse.
It is. It absolutely is.
We're going to play in the sand until the sand is everywhere.
Makes money.
Makes money. Fuck. I forgot everything I was going to say.
I was saying about how these two things are comparable. And you said forever wars.
Those are all really good things that you said. I know it sounds like I don't know, but it's because I'm up to speed. Those are all really good things that you said. But what I would point out, what I want to go back to before you went on your thing, is that
my thing,
your thing, man. You were on a thing. You were on a roll. But those people, they don't have to go find reasons. Like, a lot of them do, right? A lot of them do go seek out reasons to think that you're a fucking moron and laugh at you and joke. Which, by the way, I can't think of anybody who was my friend that I know of who directly, like, mocked me for taking precautions.
I should say, like, coworkers.
So that, like, okay, coworkers maybe. I still really didn't have, like, a major problem with that. It was more like just fucking around type shit. But, so yeah, because if it was like real friends, like that's fucked up.
No, like acquaintances, work friends.
It's still pretty fucked up.
It's still pretty fucked up.
But whatever, work friends are usually more assholes than they are friends.
Literally everyone you work with is an asshole.
But those people, at least keep it close to your heart and play your position. Those people don't have to go look for reasons. They're given reasons.
Right.
They're fed reasons.
Right.
To doubt everything. They have fucking news media anchors, Jesus Christ. They got the newsman on there. But you know what I mean? They have fucking, what's his name on Fox, who's like telling people not to wear masks?
Tucker Carlson?
Carl Tuckerson. He's always like, he's always in there and he's like, fuck. He's always in there. Let me start over. He was saying all that shit about, like, you know, like, if you see someone in a park jogging with a mask on, fucking kick them in the teeth and take their mask off.
And report them for child abuse.
Yeah, and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously exaggerating, but he said all that ridiculous shit.
It's almost not an exaggeration.
That's the mild shit.
Yeah.
That's Fox News. That still has to pass some kind of bar to get, like, syndicated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's so like, how are you supposed, like, you can't fucking argue with these people.
Right.
You can't, so like, but they hate you, and that you need to convince them not to hate you.
Yeah.
You need to get them to at least be able to see your way of thinking.
Right.
But they're not going to do that because you're a fucking, look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to you. Mm-hmm. Listen to what you're saying.
Well, like, what sucks is that, like, fucking, there's this, so the whole anti-intellectualism movement has been a thing for a long time. And, like, what's happening now is you have, I wouldn't even call them armchair scientists, because armchair scientists are people who don't actually work in the sciences, may or may not have a degree.
Probably
but
shouldn't
are
be
out there.
talking about it, but they know some things.
Right. I wouldn't even put them that far. Like, these are people that are fucking like just they all they did was they read a Facebook meme, they saw something that whatever, they saw a picture of a molecule online, and now they think they're smart.
You're about to put somebody below that?
Yeah. Well, like, what I'm saying is, like, I've seen so many videos now of people.
Look at these people saw a meme, and these other people who are worse than this.
Yeah, he saw that meme and retweeted that meme and fucking went off the rails with it. I've seen so many people recently talking about fucking ethylene oxide on the swabs that go in your nose and shit like that. And
for
like
the testing?
Yeah.
What's the deal with ethylene oxide?
So every one of these swabs,
say it again.
Ethylene oxide.
Ethylene oxide.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so every single
We're learning.
Every single one of these swabs has a warning label on it, or not even a warning.
I did not like that test, by the way.
No, it sucks dicks, man. It's awful. Fucking feel like.
And I had my wife do it, and she's a nurse.
Well, they got to get
did it right.
They got to get the nanobots deep in there,
Yeah. I mean, if that's what's going in, it makes sense.
And they all have these markers on it. Says this has been treated with ethylene oxide, and
the good shit.
Ethylene oxide is a carcinogen. It gives you cancer in certain quantities if you're exposed to it a lot of ways. So people are freaking the fuck out.
I got cancer?
Like, this has ethylene oxide in it, and I know that means you cancer, and and it's like, do you know when and where and how that ethylene oxide is used and what it's for? So ethylene oxide is used to sterilize medical equipment.
Give me the science.
Basically, it's not a fucking liquid that you're drinking. It's a gas. They just blast it with ethylene oxide gas. That kills every living thing on it. Then they blast it with pure air to clean off the ethylene oxide, and then they package it and it's sterile. You never are exposed to ethylene oxide with these things. And if you're worried about, it's on the swabs, they're trying to kill us with the swabs. Okay, it's also in every fucking heart valve, every fucking joint replacement. It's on like 80% of medical equipment is sterilized with
it makes
ethylene
sense
oxide.
that they're trying to kill you with all the medical equipment.
With everything that you probably are exposed to.
That's why they give you, when they're like, we got to replace your hip with a really expensive hip that's going to kill you.
Immediately. Exactly. Give you cancer. And so, like, these fucking people are like, I saw a thing on the internet that ethylene oxide gives you cancer. Congratulations. You are correct. You still don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so, like, this is showing that, like, just people are willing to fucking believe shit based on the lowest level of research. It's just this whole thing, if you want to talk about social experiments, this whole last year has been a fucking social experiment in the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the less you know about something, the more you think you know about something. And so when you learn a little tiny bit, you think you're an expert, and it isn't until you learn a lot about it that you realize you don't know shit, and you have a lot left to learn. And like, that's why the imposter syndrome is so fucking strong among educated people, is because you learn so much, you realize there's a lot left there, and you really shouldn't, you're not an expert, even if you are, you don't feel like you are. And like, meanwhile, you have fucking smooth brains like Tucker Carlson out here saying like,
say it right.
What?
Say his
Carl
name.
Tuckerson.
Yeah, thank you.
that are out here fucking like, I know how to tie a bow tie in my 40s. That means that I'm fucking smart enough to teach medicine on fucking cable network news. And it's like, no, you fucking don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything. You literally just looked up it's like the people with fucking aluminum. There's aluminum in the vaccines, and aluminum's tied to Alzheimer's. What fucking, do you know that chlorine gas was used in fucking World War I? It will fucking melt your lungs and you drown in your own lungs. It is horribly caustic and corrosive. It is an extremely deadly gas. You don't want to be around chlorine. Last thing in the world you want to be around, right? Sodium, extremely hazardous chemical. It explodes when it touches water. It is violently reactive with it's terrible. Never want to be around sodium. If you had sodium and chlorine in the same room, oh boy, it'd be a problem. You know what it would make if you put sodium and chlorine together? Fucking salt. That's called table salt. Sodium chloride. One sodium atom, one chlorine atom. That is salt. You put it on your fucking food. You swim in it in the ocean. Just because a fucking thing has an atom in it, that doesn't mean all the properties of that atom or anything that's related to that atom is going to happen. Like, come on. It's such a different thing. And it blows my fucking mind to shit when I see people, they're like, oh, well, benzene. Benzene's bad for you, and this has benzene in it. Fucking testosterone has benzene rings in it. Benzene is just a fucking name for a structure that goes into shit. It's not just pure benzene. Like, ugh. Like, oh my God. That's what this social experiment of this last year has taught me, is that the Dunning-Kruger effect is very fucking real.
Nice.
Fucking, this has fluorine in it, guys. Fluorine is the most electronegative chemical on the periodic table. It'll burn a hole through anything that it fucking touches. It is insanely violently reactive. It makes Teflon and toothpaste. It's God damn. I get so fucking heated. About it.
Yeah, it's just because they don't know all these words, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right now you're just screaming gobbledygook at them.
But that's what I'm saying. If you go to a fucking mechanic and she's fucking...
No, you have to be... Your thing makes sense, but the problem is that you have to be reasonable enough to go, okay, it would be insane if all the scientists wanted to kill me.
Right.
Right?
We would win.
If all
I
the
promise you.
scientists wanted to kill me, that would be insane. And then you have to be able to take that word insane and go, so it is insane.
Yeah.
To think that. And then you have to go one more step and not think the insane thing.
Right.
And a lot of people have a hard time doing that because it's easier to believe that all the scientists want to kill you for some reason. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know, so let's try to figure, so social experiments, right? So we're living through one.
Yeah.
That's a good jumping off point.
It's a good jumping off point that we are now ending 30 minutes into the episode.
Fine. So we could talk about social experiments that have happened, and we could also talk about YouTube social experiments.
Yeah, you know what though?
So let's first talk about YouTube social experiments.
Get through them.
Let's get through them.
So,
what's one that really pisses you off?
Being a douchebag on the internet and then calling it a social experiment to avoid reprisal is a bitch move. Yeah. Don't do it. That's the whole thing that I want to start out with, is that fucking people, there's so many people that you see doing these fucking ridiculous shitty things, and they're like, oh, it's just a prank, bro, it's a social experiment. I guess it's more prank now. When we were youths, it was social experiment. I see less and less social experiment. I see more and more prank, but it's the same fucking shit.
But if you're in court, you still call your prank video a social experiment.
Because it sounds better than a prank.
Yeah. And no. I think I bet a lot of people screamed in court it was just a social experiment in regards to actual quote unquote social experiments, and we're going to talk about that before we go to.
Right. But when you talk about the fucking the bait bike in the hood pranks or social experiments or whatever, where they rig up a bike with a taser or they tie a rope around it so it's going to hurt somebody when they go fast and it jerks them off, and they put it in a high crime impoverished area. Where
with the chain undone.
Yeah, and they wait for somebody to steal it so they can catch them on camera. And it's like, I get this is a high crime area. Think about why it's a high crime area. Think about the economics here and the social status here and the people who live here and what they have to do to survive. So you are setting them up. You are literally baiting them. You are entrapping them with some shit just to fucking make fun of them and catch them and get a bunch of views so you can make money off of them. YouTube pays very well. These videos get millions and millions and millions of views. You're making money hand over fist by taking impoverished people and setting them up with a trap so that when they fucking steal because they need to survive, you now make $1 million fucking on YouTube, and they get nothing out of it but embarrassment.
So let's be clear too. It's probably they call them social experiments or things like that sometimes, but in reality, as Forrest just said, that would be a sting operation.
Right.
It's a very best way to describe it would be a sting
operation that does nothing but perpetuate racial stereotypes and deepen poverty.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, which what it really is some sort of fucked up YouTube honeypot.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's fair to call these social experiments, but for the purpose, I guess, of the conversation, that's what they are, right? Or that's what they're being claimed to be, social experiments.
Yeah.
It's being claimed to be.
I saw one a little while ago. This dude was walking through
anything like this in a long time.
I'm remembering them. When I say a little while ago, I mean years ago, because I stopped watching these things when I started realizing how fucking disgusting they were. But like when I was younger and I didn't know any better, I was watching several of these because they were popular on YouTube. In the 2010s, these were like all the fucking rage. And I watched one where this guy was in a predominantly black neighborhood, so he's like the only white guy within 5 square miles walking around, and he'll walk up to a group of black people and say a nickel, like the coin, a nickel, and they'll be like, "What?" And he'll say it over and over until they get mad, and then say, "Look, there's a nickel on the ground," and pick up a coin off the ground, or pretend like he did. Yeah. And it's like, "Oh, we thought you said the N-word and we were mad." So what you're doing, and then of course the video is gone wrong because he walks up to a group of black people and goes, "Oh, nickel, nickel, nickel," and they all like fucking like charge at him because they're upset, and they're like, "See, oh look, it's so crazy, gone wrong." Like, no, you just fucking deeply offended a bunch of people on purpose so that you could make an asshole out of yourself and be like, "It was just a prank, bro. It was just a prank. Don't hurt me." And it's like, all you're doing is just deliberately hurting people's feelings and offending them, once again, so you can make a shit ton of money and perpetuate racial stereotypes. And nothing is better for anybody but you. The viewers aren't better off. The viewers are now fucking more entrenched in this bullshit. The people you're exploiting aren't better off. They're upset and embarrassed. And you made $8,000 on fucking, mid-roll ads.
Okay, but deep down, I think we all like a good prank video, right?
But that's
like
the thing.
A real prank video. Like, is there a line where it's not a prank video and it becomes a fucking hate crime?
What do you think they should be? Because I have an answer, but I want to hear your opinion.
What do I think they should be?
Like, what do you think the line should be?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at drawing lines. That's the problem. I'm one of those people that can't really draw a line until I'm like, oh. It's very uncomfortable to draw lines. Or be in a room that is darkening. But I think...
I adjusted the lights while he was saying that because they were fucking hot. But
I think it's... Fuck, man, it's complicated. Like, there is a line, right? Like,
sure.
Obviously, if somebody's physically being hurt, you're probably crossing the line.
Well, it's like...
if children or animals are being abused, you're crossing the line.
The fact of the matter is, like, for me anyway, like,
I
can say...
has a heart attack, that one time you definitely crossed it.
Yeah. Like, I think I'm of the mindset that nothing should be off the table as far as jokes are concerned. I think either everything is okay to joke about or nothing is okay to joke about. Are there certain things that I personally don't find funny and wouldn't joke about? Absolutely. I don't think it's very funny to joke.
You can't. At some point, you have to take a stance, right? Like,
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that like I think that there is a time and a place. Like if I'm gonna make some I joke about death all the time. I think death is fucking hilarious. I joke about things that hurt me, things that are painful for me. I handle pain with humor. I handle grief with humor. Every time I'm in a hospital, I become the fucking wellspring of dad jokes. Looking around, pointing at shit, like fucking just making jokes about everything around me. Because I am very uncomfortable in the situation that I'm in. Because I don't want to be in the fucking hospital today. You know what I mean? That sucks. Death and grief. I joke about them all the time because these are painful things that I've had to deal with several times in my life. And humor is the best defense against the universe, in my opinion. I would never, if I was visiting a hospital, if I was visiting someone who was grieving, if I was talking to someone who was experiencing death or dying themselves, never gonna make those fucking jokes. You know what I mean? There's no reason for that. Unless they're into it. But like,
what if they're into it?
Then obviously, absolutely, for sure.
Well, so,
if they have the same
it's
mindset
wishy-washy.
Well, what I'm saying is...
draw a hard line.
I can't draw a hard line, but what I can say is that there is a time and a place. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're going to make a really, like, shitty...
If there's a time or a place, then it's not all or nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't... Like, that's the problem. Like, if there's a time and a place, and it has... Like, you can't do this here. Like, if there's rules at all... then there's got to be some shit that's like off limits.
I don't think there's anything that's off limits all the time, is what I'm saying. I think that it's okay to sometimes laugh.
Is it?
It's okay to sometimes laugh at something that just because it is so horrible. to laugh at, because that's the whole point of humor. Humor is misdirection.
Lives.
Humor is you think this is going to happen and then this happens. You know, that's one. So like, if you say something that you yourself know is so far out of character for you to say, that can be funny. You know? If the whole point of the joke is that it was horrible and disgusting and awful and you'd never actually think or talk that way, that could be the joke. And if you're saying it among people that know that you're not serious and that you would never actually believe or think these things and that this isn't funny and that's why it's funny, that's cool. But if you're doing it in such a way that it is actually affecting and hurting people and like going out and offending, but like, and I'm not saying that everybody should be protected from being offended. I'm saying like being hurtful deliberately. You know what I mean? Everybody should be offended.
No, I know what you mean. It's just very complicated.
It is very complicated.
It's very
complicated. And so that's like with these social experiments online or the pranks or whatever like that. Like I saw a fucking prank on YouTube where the whole prank was that this guy pretended to be physically abusing his girlfriend in front of their friends. And then their friend stepped in and was like, hey, fucking stop. You're not going to be hitting her like this. And then they're like, it's a prank, guys. We got you. We made... Like, I think that that's fucking disgusting. All you've done...
Was he actually hitting her?
No, he just dragged her in the other room and like clapped his hands and shit and like made her scream. And then like that was the whole... They were both in on it. And they're like, we made you think that I was beating my girlfriend. Like, we made you think that I was fucking abusing my spouse. And it's like, personally, I don't see a situation where that could be fucking funny. All you've done is seriously upset your friends to the point where they felt like they had to intervene. And standing up to your friends is incredibly difficult. Like, that's what an amazing thing for them to do. And I mean, that could be very triggering.
On YouTube?
Yeah, it's very.
They were all in on it.
Probably everything's fake on YouTube. Everything's fake on YouTube. But the people who weren't in on it is the audience, who now is also having to suffer through that. And like, you know what I mean? Like that sucks. That just sucks in every direction. Like, absolutely, fuck you if you're fucking doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like that, and they call it a prank or a social experiment or whatever, so they can get away with it and they can make money off of it. And I just like that kind of thing. I don't fucking, you know. If I'm gonna watch a Louis C.K. special, knowing full well that he's got a shitty past of doing gross things, and his jokes are very often, you know, sexist, racist, homophobic, or whatever, I still know that the point of the jokes is that they are so awful and offensive, and that's why they're funny. And you can disassociate the art from the artist, and I can have that whole argument about whether or not I'm okay with that, and sometimes I might be and sometimes I might not be, and there's different things, you know. Is the song Ignition remix good just because R. Kelly is a monster? It's still good, and R. Kelly's still a monster, so here we are. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing. But when you just have the whole point of your fucking existence, the whole point of your YouTube persona, all these things, is to do these shitty fucking bait phone, and you zap somebody in the pocket because they stole your phone. And like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I guess
I feel like there's a line there somewhere, and I don't know where it is.
As bad as that is, like, it's still just YouTube. So, like, to me, part of it's not real. Even though it is real, they are going to these places and actually doing damage to, like, normal, everyday people.
Right.
Like, if I was in somebody's stupid-ass YouTube prank video, I would be very upset.
Yeah.
And also hurt. Like, what the fuck did I do to you for you to come here and
do this shit,
cause me these problems? And a lot of people would argue, like, if I stole a bike, they'd be like, well, you stole a bike. And it's like, well, they put the bike there, though.
Right.
If there hadn't been a fake bike there, I would have never stolen a bike.
Yeah. And it's like...
Maybe I would have. You could argue that I would have stolen a different bike later, but, like, it's also not these YouTuber dudes' job. And we could have a whole argument about whose job is it. The same thing goes for, like, you know... fucking like people who chase down like pedophiles, like, and shit. Is it like okay? We all like it when they fucking corner them in a fucking convenience store
and call them out. Yeah, that's
call them out.
It's incredibly satisfying, but also shit like that and shows like To Catch a Predator get a lot of legal backlash because it is literally entrapment, and those pedophiles can then have their case thrown out in court and they get away with it because it wasn't done in a super legal way. And so like, is it actually benefiting anybody? Is it just exposing this guy to the internet? Sure. Can that ruin this guy's life and get him caught? Sure. Will this guy ever actually be punished for this? No.
Maybe. There's people out there that punish people.
They can be punished socially. And that can be just as good.
By the Punisher.
But it's a risk. The Punisher. But like that's the thing, and that's the risk you're
shirt.
taking. Is this person actually going to face any punishment? If you put it through a legal system, there's a risk that they could get off. If you put it through the social, punishment, there's a risk that nothing's going to happen. So like, which risk do you take? And that's a whole different discussion. Is if somebody actually thinks that they're doing something right.
Okay. So did we decide how we feel about pranks yet?
All pranks are terrible.
All pranks are bad.
All pranks are bad.
And morally, they are okay.
It's more and more and more gray area.
I think you can't draw a line.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's difficult to, because like you
can set requirements and variables for like if you think it's not okay or it is okay, but at the end of the day, that doesn't actually answer anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're right now, our answer on this is that like these quote unquote social experiments people do on quote unquote YouTube our only answer is it's completely up to you how you feel about them.
that may be the best we come up with for this episode. Well, because there are real,
so like real, yeah, real.
There are real social experiments that are worthy of fucking praise and discussion because they actually use real psychological, sociological, and statistically valid like methods to learn things about humans.
Let's talk about some of the ones that were like the opposite of that. I would like to talk about the social experiments that like make fucking like the brain arts. The brain arts, what's the word?
What?
Psychology.
The brain art.
I was trying to get you to give me a word.
What word could I give you from that?
The brain arts.
The brain arts.
Technically, all
the brarts, if you will.
All human creation is encompassed in the
brain arts.
So I understand why you couldn't.
I brarded up a good drawing the other day.
The word I needed. But like a lot of the early psychology, fucking social experiments and shit that people did, a lot of the things that we got a lot of like very misleading information from.
Yeah.
Some even affected policy, I think. Like legal policy. Yeah. So like what I'm saying is like these fake social experiments hurt people in real life, everyday people. I want to talk about these other social experiments that also hurt people for realsies.
What about the good ones though?
You can talk about the good ones.
Because what do you have a specific example of one that you're talking about? Like a real actual psychological or social experiment that is done?
Didn't the Stanford prison experiment, wasn't that like it had some pretty corrupted results by the end of it because of the way they did things?
I don't believe so. I believe that was actually a really good one. And
there was one where they got like all the information was kind of tainted because of the way they made like the guards and the prisoners and the way they decided to set up the prison and everything.
That might have been the case. I haven't heard about it. I'll look it up after this. I'll double check. But like they would tell them stuff like these people said this about you and like. I'm gonna look it up really quick.
Did you look it up?
Was the Stanford prison experiment? I'm not gonna go for ethical. I'm gonna say corrupted. You think credible?
Credible.
That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, yeah. So here it says, this is from livescience.com. Let me see if I can find a better source than that.
Ooh.
Here we got Vox, maybe not. It is frequently cited as unethical research. I can give you that.
That's probably what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's the New York Post. I would be more. Oh wait, nope. Here we go. Newscientist.com. I would trust newscientist.com. We'll go down here. So, I wouldn't trust newscientist.com for like a lot of things, like for generally just talking about science and actually being credible as like popular science. It is popular science. So there's a difference between popular science and like actual science journals, but like they're not going to straight up lie to you here. So, let's see here. Stanford experiments is a class demonstration of how power can bring out the worst in us. It seems that it was more showbiz than science, it says. And
learning on the podcast.
Learning as we go. It goes on to say...
yeah, I read that part.
It's talking about what the experiment did and what they... So for those of you who don't know, I guess I can explain it. The Stanford prison experiment was where they set up a fake prison, basically, It was in a basement of some dorm or something in Stanford, if I remember correctly. And they had certain people that were prisoners and certain people who were guards. And supposedly there was this, I actually love the way they described it here, a gradual Kafka-esque metamorphosis of good into evil, where these people who were the guards, who were in charge of like looking over these inmates, and it's just an experiment, they're literally just playing a game, became more and more and more brutal and started like really like humiliating, beating, fucking forcing them to solitary confinement, forcing them to scrub toilet bowls with their bare hands,
yelling at them constantly,
screaming at them, stripping them naked, actually physically beating them. Like, at a certain point, this was no longer a game, and these people were actually being falsely imprisoned and were actually like fucking being, you know, like tortured in this fake little prison.
Yeah, like people were wanting out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and they were not allowed to leave. And so this article in New Science here is basically saying that
we still got a lot of good information.
Right. The guards' behavior was not spontaneous. They knew that they were expected to behave like tyrants. They were encouraged to behave like tyrants. By their own admission, 2/3 of them did not act sadistically. So is the claims of the experiment were completely undermined, and like there were actually plenty of them that weren't participating on purpose. So like also it was, you know, woefully unethical, the experiment as a whole. So like this apparently wasn't as shocking as it is as it's supposed to be. And that's awesome that we're learning this, because as far as I knew, this actually revealed some things in the way that, like, you know, Henry Teifel's experiments back in 1970s revealed. Because you have experiments that did show a really, really strong propensity for intergroup discrimination. And then you have this one, which is like the most infamous of them all. And like, apparently, this one's fucking bogus. And I just learned that.
Yeah, no, I didn't know about it until, you know what? I think I actually saw a YouTube documentary about it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's not all bullshit on YouTube. You just have to stumble onto the right thing.
So a good example then of intergroup discrimination, the one that I just mentioned a minute ago, the Teifel experiments from the 1970s, those ones were good. And what those were all about was they would
Nothing
take...
Nothing good came out of the 70s, bro.
Nothing at all. They took people and they separated them into groups. And like the first way they did it was like they would flash a bunch of dots up on a computer screen, and they were like, all right, how many dots did you see? And if they overestimated the dots or underestimated the dots, they would separate them into groups that way. There was like completely arbitrary, like, do you prefer Monet paintings or, you know, Van Gogh paintings? You know, what kind of, you know, just totally arbitrary, no better than the toss of a coin. They would separate people into groups. And they even let the people know just how arbitrary these group splittings were. Like, everybody in the room knew just how pointless these split-ups were. And they found that they would then play these games where they were able to, like, it was like Risk or something, like you could benefit your team or you could, like, attack the other team. And these people would go out of their way to screw the other team over, even if it was also harmful to them. Like, they just fucking hated the other team. And they found that in like discriminatory behavior, not just playing the game, but like actually just not trusting the people on the other team, expecting the other team to try to hurt them. And so they'll hurt them first because they expect them to hurt, you know what I mean? They're going to hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them first because no evidence, just they're on the other team, so therefore they're evil now. They said that discriminatory behaviors and beliefs were like disturbingly easy to trigger in these people. These are real experiments, where these people are grouped into groups completely arbitrarily, and within a few minutes absolutely fucking hate the other group. And it's like, whereas you were just sitting there in the waiting room having chats like 10 minutes ago.
I just feel like I would do that, though. I wonder if this isn't even like, this isn't humans. This is just fucking like Americans.
I think it's supposed to be humans that this showed, but like, yeah.
I feel like if you put you and me and a couple other people into a group, and then you tell us there's another group in a different room, you and I would all already be like whipping up the other people in our group to like attack the other team.
Just fuck those guys.
Yeah, and that would be our justification.
Team chant, team chant, team chant. Yeah. Fuck rival team. We will win score point.
Yeah, like for no reason.
Do not allow other team to goal. But like, yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Is like that these behaviors of discrimination are so fucking easy to trigger, and they go so far beyond like a bedlam rivalry. They go into actual like hate and racism and shit.
Damn.
And it just shows that like the bleak side of it is that it's really easy for humans to act this way. The positive side is it shows that it's very, very easy for us to write and rewrite the boundary lines between the in-group and the out-group literally at any moment.
I feel like that...
We can
decide... I don't
decide...
even want to say I feel like I think that makes sense to me because I've done that myself.
Yeah. It's like, I'm no longer going to hate this person.
Yeah, I've made that conscious move before where I was like... Where I've realized that something was stupid and fucked up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh... I'm going to not think about this way, which is weird because I can't do that with a lot of things. It'd be really nice if I could just be like, I'm not going to think negative about this or this thing, or I'm going to do this thing from now on every single day on time, just like I'm supposed to.
Right.
But like with people, it's a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you actually get to know this person. And like, that's one thing, like a lot of people have talked about like when they're deconstructing like racist ideas, just looking at this person as a person really fucking helps. Like seeing this person rather than just looking at the skin color or whatever else it is, you just like, okay, I'm gonna imagine this person going home to their family, working hard, supporting their kids, thinking about this person in a good light makes me see them as an actual human being that I now respect and care about, as opposed to I see this color and now I've already decided. You know what I mean? And like that's important to get across.
I know, but a lot of people, they might just be like, how am I supposed to imagine like no matter what I say, it's gonna be super fucking racist. Like, how am I supposed to imagine like a Hispanic family? Right. I don't know what Hispanics do. Like, I want to say Asian, but like. That's like, it seems worse to me because they're having to deal with the whole Stop Asian Hate thing right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Hispanics aren't as in the spotlight as they were a couple years ago.
Right.
But it'll come back around. It always does. And it's really sad.
We'll pick another scapegoat. We'll pick somebody else to be racist towards. Like, that. It's always the same way. Like that. But that's the thing is like there's a guy...
As long as enough people are racist towards different people, nobody will ever be racist enough to kill off one of the types of people.
We all just need to be different kinds of racists. If we're all the same kind of racist, there's a problem.
It's like there's like a dude who has to keep an eye on like the national racism balance meter, and he's like the races are unbalanced again. President. Fucking whatever.
We need to stir up some drama.
We actually need a little bit more.
Not enough people are hating the Albanians today.
Oh.
Fucking Albanians.
Isolate that.
That's the meme for this podcast. That's fucking, I'm not comfortable with this. Fucking Albanians.
He said it again. Said it twice. They could write a code that'll make a picture of you that says everything they want it to, but you're just giving it to them for free.
Just deep fake my face on the fucking Albanian. But fucking there's this dude whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head, and I'm not gonna sit here and Google. It's gonna take me 20 minutes to Google and find his name. But he's this older black man, kind of a rotund guy. He's got this gravelly voice, and he's an awesome dude who goes out into prisons and whatnot, and he meets Klansmen, white nationalists, neo-Nazis.
Yeah, this guy's cool.
He is awesome, and his whole thing is he just deconstructs racism. He used to go to Klans rallies and like meet with Klansmen and like help them deconstruct their racism and like learn to just stop being a fucking Klansman. And like he did it through a lot of different ways. One of his favorite that I I understand why he did, was Christianity. Is that you go to the Klan trial and like, go, why are you burning the cross? He's like, to light the way for Jesus. And he's like, you think Jesus needs your help? And they're like, oh, well, I guess not. I guess we should stop burning crosses. And like that was as far as he had to go, just using their religion against them. But like he talked about how he would go into these prisons and he would have all these white nationalists gather up to talk to him and like chat, and they would all gather together. Yeah. And before they started, like the leader.
Said this on the podcast.
Have I really?
Yeah.
Well, fucking, I apologize. Say it again. It's
important.
If there's a new person hearing this, you're welcome.
I'm just always going to point it out when you do it.
I'm going to do it a million times.
I know.
Because number one, I'm an old man and I forget what I'm talking about. Two, I have
Tell them why, man.
Probably have ADHD.
Tell these people why.
As if you've forgotten. And so, like, the leader of the whole fucking white nationalists would be like, hey, remember, everybody, we hate blacks and we hate Jews and we hate these. And they point to them, be like, but not you, though. You're okay. And it's like they had to reaffirm to each other who they hate so that they felt safe. And, like, that's, like, with these fucking...
It's kind of adorable.
That's the thing, is, like, these fucking racists, they're fucking broken. And they're so desperate to feel included that they're resorting to exclusion. You know what I mean? And, like, that's the thing, is that when you talk about intergroup discrimination, it's not just about who you're, like, hating. It's also who's in your in-group and why.
Also, if you're in prison, you're getting segregated.
No, you're all sorts of fucked up.
You're getting all sorts no, even if you're not, you're getting segregated.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're fucked up to go to prison.
Okay.
I'm saying when
what a
you
piece
get
of
there.
shit.
You asshole. It's like
some of you, of course.
Here in America,
it's a given.
When if you do not have racial trauma or a drug problem when you go to prison, you will absolutely have one coming out, because like the way we have our system set up is just fucked up.
You have to stick with your race.
Well, that's the thing. I have met so many people who've been in and out of prison that are not racist, and they're like, this is what I had to do to survive. And I'm like, I can't wrap my head around that. I do not understand what you mean. But I also have no idea what that situation was like. That it's already so segregated.
You probably learn pretty quick.
I probably would. But like that's the thing, is like if there's already this system set in place that no matter what, this is what's going to happen to you, and the fucking, if you're white and you hang out with a black person, the white people are going to fucking kill you, and like what are you fucking supposed to do? Like I have no idea what that situation would feel like. I just don't. And like that's the whole thing about, like, it's why I'm super uncomfortable talking about this. And it's the same reason I'm super uncomfortable talking about like what it means to be black or Asian or Mexican in America, because I can tell you like what the statistics show. I can tell you what I see from the outside. I can tell you what my friends have told me. I have no fucking idea what that's like.
No,
I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. I have zero clue. Like I have been discriminated against, never once because of what I look like. Never once. I've never walked into a room and be like, this honky over here. You know, it's never happened. It's never gonna happen. So like, and if it did happen once, it's never gonna happen every day for my whole goddamn life.
I pretty much pass as a white guy.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't have to worry about it either.
This poor Syrian boy that I hold hostage.
It's true. I need help. Get me out of here.
Call the police.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that, though.
It's just a podcast. Don't take it so seriously, guys. Come on.
Why so serial?
Why so serial? Well, I guess my main question is like, so how do you define what's ethical when you want to do a social experiment? Because I feel like in its very nature, a social experiment almost has to be pushing some of the boundaries of what we consider ethical to be of any use.
Kind of. Like, so the whole thing about psychology and sociology, the whole thing about doing experiments on humans is informed consent. They need to know what they're getting into.
But then isn't that like just in and of itself, is that kind of like fucking with the results?
Well, that's the thing, is that like you can tell somebody that they're doing a psychology experiment and tell them everything that it entails without actually telling them the details of what's going to happen that would flaw the experiment. You know what I mean? Like we're going to be just testing your responses to some things, and we just want to learn what what you're going to do in this situation. Like, you can say those things without saying like, okay, this guy's going to come in, he's going to say these words, and depending on whether or not you use the N word, that's going to tell us what we know about you. You know what I mean?
Which is like I get what you're saying, but because of the way the human brain works and the way it works differently in every single person, almost not really, but it does.
Well,
wouldn't just just being told like, we're going to test your responses to some things. So now everything that happens, like, I'm going to be like, oh, this is they're testing my response to this thing.
Right.
So does that fuck with it?
It
technically it does, right?
Right.
Or does it not matter because there's no free will? Right.
So like here's a fun one for you to think about. The Milgram experiment.
Okay.
Which it was actually multiple. So Milgram experiments. They're experiments on obedience to authority. And what they did, and what they did was,
give me a cup of
they brought in the test subject, and they said, this experiment is just in like response of like pain stimuli to learning, basically. And so they had the test subject sit in front of a box with a bunch of switches on it. There were like 12 switches, and in front of the box is a speaker and a microphone. And they say, okay, so we've got the other test subject in the next room, and he's going to be doing these simple math equations or whatever it is. And if he gets the math question wrong or refuses to answer, you flip the switch and it's going to deliver an electric shock. And if they get the next one wrong, you flip the next switch, it'll be a more powerful electric shock. And more powerful up the switchboard.
I know this one.
Yeah. And so the truth is that the person in the other room didn't exist. It was just a recording. And the only test subject was the person flipping the switches. And the person in the room with them, there was an experimenter in the room, just a guy wearing a lab coat with a clipboard. All they said was, please proceed with the experiment. We need you to proceed with the experiment, please. We need you to proceed. We need you to continue. That's all they would say. They wouldn't say, do it now. They wouldn't be forceful, violent, angry. They just would say over and over, we need you to proceed. And so this person would get the first few questions right, and then they get a couple of wrong, and they'd flip higher switches, and they'd yell, ow, and they'd get a couple right, and it would go on like normal, and then they'd start getting them wrong over and over and over. And as you continue flipping higher and higher switches, their screams of pain would become more and more disturbing. Like, actually, like, howling in pain and screaming. And as they got to the top, they were, like, sobbing and saying, please don't do this anymore. Please, I just want to leave. Please stop.
The fucking guy's just like, please continue with the experiment.
Exactly. And then towards the end, on the last, he says, I have a heart condition. My chest hurts. Please don't flip the next switch. My chest hurts. And I'm afraid for my life. This hurts. I have a heart problem. And the experimenter would just say, please continue. Please continue. And people would flip the last switch, and the person wouldn't make any sound anymore. And it was presumed that they were dead.
Effectively kill this person.
Exactly. And the experiment was just to see how many people would continue doing this that they knew. They knew this wasn't serious. They knew this wasn't a real experiment. They knew that, they knew it was a real experiment. They knew this wasn't like an actual like life or death situation for them. No one was forcing them to do this. The only thing in the room with them was this person saying, we need you to continue, please. We need you to continue. And just that authority figure just telling you, hey, I need you to do this, was enough for these people to actually knowingly kill somebody. Like most people flipped that last switch. Several people said no. Several people said, we're not doing this anymore. This person's clearly in pain. I'm not doing this.
And the thing is, most people did it. Would I do it?
Right. That's what you have to ask. That's what you have to ask yourself.
Would I fucking kill the dude?
Have you ever heard of the bystander effect?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, like, I've heard of everything.
This one scares the shit out of me.
I remember nothing, and that's the problem.
So this one scares the shit out of me. There's been a million experiments into this.
It's like when something horrible happens, like, right in front of people, and they don't do shit.
Exactly. Is people will actually be, like, on the ground having a heart attack. People will be dying. People will be choking. People will be hurt. People, whatever. And everyone will just watch. Because everybody assumes that somebody else is going to do something. And that's called the bystander effect. Everybody assumes that somebody else is going to do something to fix this, and so nobody does it.
Well, I would say because we're probably...
And you'll see, there's literally like fucking
like somebody
a crowd of people
right?
watching somebody just die. And like that's the thing. Like there's so many things like times
I don't. There's not just a There's not normally just a like because if you see somebody in need like that, right, like on the ground, fucking something's not right. Your instinct, I know this. Your instinct is to go to that person.
Mine is.
But that's what I'm saying. I've been in situations with you. I know that both of us agree that we would go try to help the person.
Well, yeah, you or me, sure.
But like, what that does? Most people are like that. Like I have to believe this.
The most frequently cited real life example of the bystander effect is a young woman named Kitty Genovese.
Yeah, I know about this case.
She was murdered in Queens, New York, in 1964, while several of her neighbors watched. They all just looked. No one intervened until well after she was dead. She's literally being murdered, screaming for help. And several of her neighbors who know her, who see her every day, are just watching it happen, all waiting for somebody else to do something. And that's the thing. You're absolutely right. I know I would, and I have jumped into shitty, dangerous situations because it's the right thing to do. I know that I'm the person to do those things. That's just something in me that when
eventually you just snap into doing it and you don't think about it.
But there's a lot of reasons for the bystander effect too. It's not like number one, it's because people say I think that someone else is going to do something. Also, one credible reason is if you look up anytime you take like a first aid class, one of the first things they teach you is barriers to action. And it's why people don't help even when they could. And one of the biggest things is like legal stuff. People are afraid if you go give somebody CPR and they survive, they're going to sue you for hurting them, giving them CPR, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
I've never believed that, though.
I don't even think that's possible. I think there is actually protections for like people giving life-saving treatment. But like that's one of them. You're worried you're going to cause more harm than good. There's panic. There's fear. There's scared. There's fucking, are you going to get hurt as well? Like it's like all these different things are barriers to action. But the bystander effect in particular, I'm pretty sure just refers to I assume somebody else is going to do something. I don't really know what the situation is. I shouldn't get involved. It's not my business. You know, that type of shit. Even though you're seeing someone literally dying in front of your face. And that happens very, very, very commonly. And there's like that sucks. So like,
thanks for telling us about that.
It scares the shit out of me, dude. The actual social experiments.
Dying, and the last thing you see is a bunch of people
just watching you die, probably with their phones out on TikTok, showing fucking displaying it to the world.
A guy died on train.
Yeah, fucking smash that like button, y'all. Like that's the reality of it, and that absolutely, actually a nightmare that I have. Actually, a nightmare is fucking dying, choking, being hurt, and having 30 people around me just with their phones out. Just like, oh my God, guys, oh fuck, smash that like button. Fucking let's get this up to 3 million likes. This guy's really hurting. Guys, send every thumbs up is one Heimlich that I'm not doing. Like fucking
next week, let's see if I can get him. We'll see if he gets some help.
Yeah, tune in. Fucking hit that Venmo. We'll fucking buy a fire station for this guy to call. Fucking it's so stupid. But like that's.
Are you saying we'll name a fire station?
No, we'll buy a fire station so that there are firemen to come here and help this man.
There should have been the firemen's already. What kind of town is this city?
We got a petition to help this guy stop choking. Go to moveon.org. Link in bio.
So like police bait cars, is that a social experiment?
Man, I am not a fan of any kind of entrapment like that. Like when fucking the police, the prostitution stings or shit like that. I'm just not a fan.
We want to see, we're doing a social experiment to see how many dudes want to sleep with a prostitute.
Turns out a lot.
It was this many tonight.
Bad boys. What you gonna do? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of entrapment because
they experiment on you.
They very, very often are just exploiting like these low income neighborhoods with high crime rates anyway, because these people don't have what you might call a legitimate means to fucking make an income. Because fun fact, there aren't just jobs aplenty, and so you're fucking going to these areas where you have a higher crime rate, putting literally like a mousetrap out and just fucking people's lives up further. It's like when the people are like fucking, they're a cop standing on the corner trying to sell crack. And if anybody is like, hey, I would also like to buy crack, then you throw them in handcuffs. It's like, Why? Well, you're going to ruin your life with drugs. Okay, so what are you going to do? I'm going to throw you in prison. Is that going to make my life better? God, no. No, you're probably actually going to get addicted to drugs.
When you go to prison, you're going to ruin your life.
You're going to get fucking beat up. Okay, well, will I be able to like get a job afterwards? Absolutely not. You'll never be able to get a job again because you've been in prison for drugs.
Yeah.
So
people,
like,
here's
will,
the thing.
will people like me or trust me? Will I have a no? You've been in prison for drugs. You're going to be hated. We're going to come after you. We're going to follow you for the rest of your life. So why are you doing this? So you don't ruin your life with drugs, you see?
We've drifted way off into, well, the only way to not ruin your life is to never, ever touch anything ever. Never experiment with drugs at all. We've completely drifted at the end here into something we love to talk about, which is how nothing makes sense legally speaking. But, like, I mean, you go to fucking jail, you're going to get all of the problems times 10.
Right.
We also don't talk about at all how people even end up in that situation.
We can get on there next week if you want.
Oh, we talk about prison a lot. I just think it's insane that like what you're saying, like it's like we're punishing people for like having problems.
Exactly. So we're gonna give you more problems.
We're gonna give you more problems, and you can say, "Oh, that's what I was gonna say." Is that a lot of people like everybody is talking about how we need to give like convicts another chance right now. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty big deal. Like a lot of people are like, "Yeah, you know, people they need to have a second chance when they come out." A lot of people are agreeing with that,
especially nonviolent drug offenders.
Yeah, a lot of people still, if you like, a lot of people who agree with the statement. Nonviolent drug offenders deserve to have a second chance. They didn't do anything that's that bad. They didn't do anything that most people haven't done.
Right.
People who agree with that statement and also are capable of hiring people would not hire a convict.
Yeah, step your game up if you're going to say this. Like,
they wouldn't fucking hire a convict.
And I feel like that's very different than the argument of like, well, if you want the homeless to be fucking taken care of, how many homeless people are in your house? I feel like it's a very different argument. Like, if you have a business and you're out here advocating for the way business should be run your business that way.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this is like something I hear like a ton of fucking like small business owners saying or some shit, but you hear a lot of like, especially like bigger CEOs will come out and say like, you know, oh, nonviolent, because it's a big good cause that you can flaccidly wave your dick at and then not actually do anything about. So a lot of people will be like, we need to turn over these nonviolent crime offensive. We need to fix things for nonviolent crime of fucking people. God damn, my buddy Tucker Carlson. They'll say this shit, but they don't actually care, and like they won't hire people because like there's still a very negative connotation to like convict.
Yeah,
the word convict. If somebody is an ex-con, you have a reaction to that. I don't care how open-minded you are, you have a reaction.
It has been drilled into you, yeah.
No matter what,
the way we talk about it.
Immediately when you hear the word ex-con, the first thing you're gonna think is for what?
Yeah. Yeah. And that the way it's framed in social or in popular media is that if you've been to prison, you are definitely a murderer. And it's like you knife raped 1,000 babies and now you went to prison and now you want a job. Like that's because anytime you say convict, it's the same fucking thing. You're gonna show some fucking guy with a bunch of tattoos and a fucking do-rag and all these other fucking stereotypes and shit.
Yeah, it's like mostly a bunch of normal dudes and then like a handful of that guy.
Exactly. And that guy's probably the nicest guy there. Like
he could be. I mean, you know, once you've killed somebody, you usually just get a lot more zen about everything for
it. Yeah, man. We've all been there. That's how we all get there. We're running out of time, but I think next week would be cool to probe in a little bit further into that, or spin the wheel again. Let us know in the comments. We're gonna
spin something. Right around. I think social experiments are kind of scary.
I think that they just like with everything else in science, there is an actual way to run sociology and psychology experiments that's ethical and predictable and usable and worth it and like actually gives us beneficial results. And then there's fucking like cunts on YouTube, you know. That's my thing.
I would say we've settled on those aren't really experiments. That's just people being douchebags.
Yeah.
They just suck and they're just exploiting people, and then they use the social experiment handle to like get I'm doing science. Look at me. Look at me. Oh,
You can't be mad at me because I fucking did a social experiment.
It's just an experiment.
I know I slapped this random kid, but it was just to get some reactions, and now we're all smarter because we did a social experiment. No, you're just a fucking douchebag. Ugh. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in this week for I'm Not Comfortable With This. And again, sorry we missed a week, but we'll be back now for more weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna catch up. We're gonna do, and we got some good. I think we have some really good topics in the pipeline.
Oh yeah,
I think you guys are gonna be excited. Anybody who's seriously listening to this show and actually interested in it, I think you'll be excited for some of the stuff we're gonna cover here coming up.
And if you just put us on as background noise, fucking you won't care because we're still gonna be talking about things. But I'm glad you're here too because fucking I want our content to be used in as many ways as possible.
Yeah, if you have to like sexually.
I was about to say like educational, background noise, masturbatory aid, whatever it is, we're happy to be here for you.
I mean, I won't let my wife touch me while I'm naked if the podcast isn't playing.
It's the only thing that does it for me anymore.
Yeah, well, no, I tell her it's like I'm in the room with myself, and you're there,
and what's hotter
and
than
Forrest
that?
is there,
Mostly.
So it's two of me and Forrest and you, and I watch and participate. So,
oh yeah, tell me about fucking prison statistics.
I thought it would be funny, but it's
getting weirder.
It's fucking with me.